higher chance to use high-quality user interfaces with more operability in their everyday life. On the contrary, it goes without saying that user interfaces of application software for corporate systems still remain less easy to use and less operable. The designing of such user interfaces depends largely on their designers' systems, designers' subjective view, and their users have no clear objective view of how highly operable user interfaces should be. Regrettably, the study of the user interface lags behind time, although its importance is currently increasing. The presentation clarifies the essence of the user interface by means of functional studies and at the same time describes a useful method applicable to the assessment of usability application software for building corporate systems. Shakira began his professional career as a full-time systems engineer at a foreign capital IT company with more than 100,000 employees, and for about 10 years had developed programs for various domestic and international projects centering on open systems. Afterwards, he joined one of the big 5 consulting firms as an IT consultant. With his expertise in systems engineering, he had succeeded in planning and building various size systems as part of providing consultancy service for international and domestic companies. Currently, he works for a Japanese consulting company whose main business domain is the IT field and serves as a technical advisor to support project management for business information systems department. By applying value engineering, he addresses issues related to the IT field ranging widely from upstream IT strategies, IT management to downstream development, operations, maintenance, and makes improvements to those. Shakira.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim, for introduction. Thank you all for coming today to this presentation. And okay, we are ready to start now. For the purpose of realizing more operable user interfaces, this presentation shows a method to assess the usability by analyzing functional approach. This new method proposed in this presentation is easily applicable, particularly to the corporate systems development process. And this method can contribute to a business development by realizing a more operable corporate system and leads to both improved business operations, efficiency, and productivity. Let me show you the agenda of this presentation. My presentation is divided into 5 sections. First, I will introduce the background of the advances in the user interface and current issues. Then, I will talk about the concept of usability assessment by functional approach. Thirdly, I will touch on the requirement for usability assessment in the software development process. Then, I will talk about the effects of usability improvement. After that, I will describe usability merit assessment method. Lastly, I will conclude with a summary. All right, let's move on to the main subject of this presentation. When it comes to advances in the user interface, the first thing is Apple's Macintosh, the first most commercially successful GUI machine that was released in 1984. Then, with Microsoft Windows 95 released in 1995, GUIs in PCs became so familiar to us that their importance increased sharply. Windows 95 made it possible for PCs as well as the internet, to explosively spread among general households. With the wide use of the internet, World Wide Web has developed and new types of user interfaces by the internet browser came about, thereby advancing the GUI field. Since that time, PCs have been equipped with GUIs as their standard built-in function. In 2007, Apple released a smartphone called iPhone and again brought a dramatic change in the GUI field. By realizing its high usability with super user interfaces, iPhone became a sensational hit and everyone started using it by replacing their mobile phone with it. Mobile terminals such as smartphones and tablets are currently selling more than PCs, and with high usability of their user interfaces, they became everyone's device. The basic role of GUI has remained unchanged since the 1970s. However, its users have had higher literacy in using its application software. Current status of user interface development for corporate systems. Whereas super user interfaces are becoming popular among general consumers, those for corporate systems are being developed taking into account their secure job performance as the number one priority over their usability. Issue lies in the systems development process itself, as well as their primary purpose. In many cases of corporate systems development, employee is a development method called the waterfall model. In this model, the system's process to improve the GUI's usability is difficult to set up. What its effects of usability of corporate systems? Actual cases have been observed in which dozens of businesses employees resigned all at once after they had felt a lot of stress while on duty in such a poor work environment as the business's system had poor usability. The employees had to follow extremely complicated work procedure. And they had difficulty in understanding their work itself. They took the wrong work procedure. It took a great deal of time to take training to learn how to operate the system. At that time, expedite the processing of its business operations. A business is required to get them done as promptly as possible to remain competitive. If the business still continues using the existing low operable user interfaces, it means lack of risk management by its management or information systems department. Such a business should change this ongoing practice and address the usability of its corporate system. Current status of usability assessment and its issues. The importance of usability is increasing, but then how can the desirable usability be achieved? While a number of studies have been conducted on the designing of user interfaces, there remain many issues regarding their assessment to determine if they are good or bad. Among them are issues with time and budget, and many businesses leave their corporate systems design work to the hands of their few designers and developers. Typical usability assessment can be categorized into two types, the qualitative and the quantitative method. whichever method may be, neither of them is likely to be adapted in the light of its time and budget constraints, thus resulting in the system's job performance over its usability. In the preceding sections, I have stated that there is virtually no usability assessment that can be applied to corporate systems development. Usability of application software for corporate systems may be a crucial element, and usability can affect a business management. But software has been developed at the sacrifice of its usability. No matter how superb and accurate corporate system can be, they will have low value if they cannot easily and timely be operated by their users. There is an absolute need to develop user interfaces with high usability for in-company application software. Such user interface support fast-paced business development. Equally, there is a need for a new assessment applicable to corporate system development in order to determine whether their usability is good or bad. I assume that it will be important to analyze functions of the user interface to determine their usability by functional approach when examining a new method of usability assessment. As shown in this figure, functions of the user interface are described in the first diagram. Specifically, as its basic functions show information is the function that returns results processed by the system, and sending digital data is the function that encodes information entered by a user and communicates it to the system. In addition, there are 4 functions that are related closely to usability of the user interface: save operational time, save entering time, save reloading, and extend operational time. These 4 functions determine usability, and once they have been achieved, the system's usability will be improved. The most widely used method for software development is the waterfall model. A development project is divided into several work processes, and once one process has been completed, its output is input into the following process. A larger a corporate system is, the more important it is, that more this method is applied for its building. Due to its one-by-one work procedure, that waterfall model leaves no room for improvement in usability by revoking the design contents of the user interface. It is in the final phase where user can operate the designed user interface, and consequently it would be too late to revoke it when a malfunction is found. At the start of the systems development project, it is uncertain how much rework would be required for usability improvement, and therefore, if a developer is willing to include rework in the project plan, the system's user would oppose it because they think less of its usability. Required for a usability assessment method applicable to the waterfall model is a mechanism to assess the system's usability before its work processing to develop the operation screen. Such an assessment method should make it possible to build highly usable user interfaces. As described in the first diagram of the user interface, the four functions determine usability of a corporate system. Those are usability assessment indexes. In the design phase of application software, users or developers can assess how much these four functions are included, and if need be, they can fairly easily evoke its user interface design. This leads to the system's higher usability before its work processes to develop the operation screen. Microsoft Japan has officially released an example of improvement for user experience entitled ROI and User Experience. Based on this improvement case, I verified how effective usability assessment indexes are in usability improvement of user interfaces. This picture shows screens before and after usability improvement for their meeting room reservation system. There are 5 measures for improvement. Firstly, minimize the number of page switching. They can save time for screen switching and setting operation are now integrated in the same screen. Secondly, improve browsing and selecting operability. After improvement, it has a mechanism to auto-display detailed information according to the position of a mouse pointer. User can browse information more easily. Thirdly, make character elements readable. This can save recognizing time for all important items. Fourthly, use users' language. By using more concrete language, users will intuitively understand the command, thereby avoiding confusion. Finally, use less tiring color and make well-organized arrangements. In after improvement, more readable characters and less contrasting color combination and color intensity have made users' eye less tired. Measures for improvement will be verified if they have been effective in achieving the 4 functions set as usability assessment indexes. In the given example, many improvements have been made for 2 indexes, save operational time and save entry time. As a result of these improvements, the time required to reserve a meeting room has been made shorter from 3 minutes 40 seconds to 1 minute 40 seconds. It has saved work time by 45%. In order to assess usability of user interfaces, we need to know if the existing user interfaces are equipped with a mechanism for its usability improvement. Also, in many cases of corporate system development, we need to utilize its limited resources more for specific user interfaces with an anticipated improvement effect rather than for all of them. To this end, we may need to qualify how much improvement should be made for usability of a given user interface. I have developed the usability merit assessment method by calculating the degree of usability merit based on the components and usability assessment indexes of each user interface. This method is of great use to usability improvement. This slide shows the procedure of usability merit assessment. First step, count the number of each screen's components. We need to know how many components does each screen has. Next step, calculate a merit target value of the number of components. Third step, count the number of components for improvement of each usability assessment index in each screen. These 4 indexes are usability assessment indexes. Next step, calculate the total number of each index. This is the number of index-applied components of the target screen. Last step, calculate usability merit using the number of index-applied components and the merit target values. This slide shows the usability merit assessment values before and after the given case of usability improvement by Microsoft Japan. Each screen indicates that its usability merit values go up, and especially many improvements have been made for assessment index of save operational time, thereby the work time shortened to minutes. In this case, the overall usability improvement has been made, but based on its usability merit value, we can specify user interfaces that should be improved and allocate a business's resources for the maximum results. In this presentation, I have shown how to assess the usability of user interfaces by functional approach. By applying such functional approach to the existing usability assessment methods with several issues, I have suggested indexes to clarify the user interface's functions and to determine if there is room for usability improvement. And I have shown Microsoft's usability improvement case. The actual case showed that if each of the employee operations the system 10 times, a business with 300 employees can save operational time by 100 hours. This assessment method is not just limited to user interface of application software, but can be applied to virtually every device. I hope to extend its application to any other field than the IT field. To my knowledge, virtually no functional approach has been conducted in the IT field, but I wish to continue conducting VA, VE, and contribute to a future of IT industry and value engineering by doing so. Thank you very much for kind attention.
We have time for 1 or 2 very quick questions. Questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I guess so was that was a real project, wasn't just theoretical, was it a real project? Real application?
Yeah, it's a Euro application, but it's a Microsoft case.
So it's a Microsoft product?
Yes.
And they're going to make some changes to the
Yes,
product?
right.
Okay.
The next speaker this afternoon is Mr. Warren Knowles.